Have you ever thought that the absence of calls and messages from a woman speaks volumes more than many men assume? Too many men panic and start thinking the worst when their phone is silent. But here's the thing. Her silence is never accidental. Every time she doesn't initiate communication, she is trying to convey something. The problem is that many men are too busy reacting, panicking, or filling the void with their own words to realize what is actually happening. Today we will discuss one of the most underrated realities of female psychology: why a woman's silence often speaks louder than her words. Women understand perfectly how to hold attention. Ignoring calls and messages makes a man ponder and often strive for her. As soon as you start pursuing her, the balance in the relationship shifts in her favor. This is no accident. It is a calculated strategy. Now let's sort out the contradictions. Many men hear that they should avoid leaving a woman waiting. They must always be on guard, showing interest so she doesn't lose interest in them. However, in reality, when she does not connect with you, it does not mean she has forgotten or tested your patience. Most likely, she is protecting her ego or trying to determine how emotionally strong you are. Your reaction to her silence says more about you than any words you could write to her. Think about this. When you remain calm and don't worry about her lack of communication, you show that your life doesn't revolve around her. This independence makes her see you in a new light. But when you panic, sending her several messages in a row or begging for her attention, you only confirm her suspicions that you are just like all the other men, incapable of handling the game. In this video, we will uncover the hidden meaning of her silence, why it is so important, and how to use these moments to earn respect rather than lose it. The first thing to remember: silence always carries a message. When a woman doesn't call or write, many men make the mistake of thinking it means nothing. They ignore it as if she's just busy, or worse, convince themselves that she's forgotten about them. But it's important to understand: silence is never empty. In relationships and on dates, silence is also communication, often conveying a message stronger than anything she could say directly. Why is silence so powerful? Because words can be distorted. She can assure you that everything is fine when it really isn't. One can talk about reasons that don't matter while hiding true emotions, but silence removes the mask, making you realize its absence instead of analyzing words. And this absence always matters. For some women, the lack of calls and messages is a way to test your strength. She wants to see how you react to her absence of constant attention. Will you remain calm and focus on your own affairs, or will you cry and flood her with messages? For others, silence serves as a tool of control. She knows it will provoke your curiosity, anxiety, and desire to pursue her. For some, it may reflect her true feelings. If she starts to distance herself, it often indicates that she is reevaluating her feelings for you. But here, most men make a mistake. They do not perceive silence as a message. They see it as an empty niche that needs to be filled. Calls begin, messages are sent, and they demand answers. All they achieve is confirmation of what she wanted: control over your emotions. When you chase her silence with words, you deprive yourself of power. A man who understands female psychology views silence differently. He does not panic or pursue. He analyzes the message hidden behind her silence. He understands that when she doesn't call or write, it means something. Whether it's her level of interest, a need for attention, or a test of his true strength. The key is this: her silence is neither accidental nor meaningless. This message, and if you do not learn to understand it, you will always be the one who reacts, not the one who controls the situation. Secondly, it tests your reaction. It does not forget about you. Here's what most men need to understand. When a woman doesn't call or write, 9 times out of 10 she hasn't forgotten. She knows exactly what she's doing. In fact, her silence is not due to being busy or distracted, but rather how you will act without her attention. This is a test that shows who you really are when you don't get what you want. Women test men because they don't trust only words. You can assure her of your independence and confidence, but the real question is whether your actions reflect those words. Silence is one of her favorite tools for figuring this out. When she doesn't call or write, she looks for cracks in your confidence. Will you pursue her immediately, become dependent, and start asking why she doesn't respond? Or will you remain calm, continue with your own affairs, and show that you don't need her approval? This is why so many men fail, unaware of it. As soon as her silence strikes them, they begin to panic, writing to her twice, calling again and again, or worse, accusing her of not paying attention. For her, the test is over, and you have failed. You have proven that your emotions depend on her actions. This looks unappealing and instantly kills respect. But let's look at it from another side. Imagine you don't react to her silence. You don't pursue her, complain, or beg for answers. Instead of being distracted by her behavior, you focus on your goals and priorities. This message is of immense importance. You are not under her control, and your worth does not diminish just because of her silence. At this moment, her trial turns against her. Instead of showing dependence, you demonstrate your strength. This is an aspect that many men often overlook. Women do not always realize that they are testing you. They may convince themselves that they are just taking a break or waiting to see how you will react. But deep down, they assess your composure. Women understand that any man can appear confident when the situation is favorable. The real test is whether you can maintain that confidence when she steps back. Do not confuse her silence with forgetting you. Thoughts of you linger as she studies your reaction. Fail this test, and you become just another man unable to withstand her games. If you pass through, you will find yourself among those capable of more. Now about why women use distance to gain power. If a woman doesn't call or write, it doesn't always mean she's lost interest. Most often, it relates to a desire to control the situation. Distance is one of the oldest and most effective ways women use to shift the balance of power in relationships. Withdrawal creates uncertainty, and uncertainty breeds insecurity in most men. The psychology is simple. Attention equals power. Those who pay more attention often find themselves at a disadvantage, while those who receive attention become leaders. Women instinctively understand this principle. When you are always available, instantly responding and filling silence with messages or calls, you unwittingly relinquish your power. She doesn't need to exert effort to get your attention, as you have made it accessible and unconditional. At this moment, she begins to take it for granted. To change the situation, she establishes distance. Without calling or texting and suddenly growing cold, she makes you think of her more than she thinks of you. This shift gives her an advantage. When you start to react, ask questions, or try to break the silence, she realizes that she has you exactly where she wants. You have traded your power for her attention. That's why distance is so effective. It requires no effort, no need to argue or explain, not even to confront you face to face. It's enough just to be silent, and your mind starts to work. You begin to replay this in your head, to doubt, to pursue her, and soon the calm and balanced man finds himself in desperate need of affirmation from the woman. However, here comes the twist. What she uses to gain power may turn against her. If you don't react to her distance, remain firm and do not give up your focus, the shift of power does not occur. In fact, it may turn to your advantage. She begins to realize that her silence does not control you, and at that moment, discomfort envelops her instead of you losing balance. It is she who feels anxiety. The men who understand this never fall into the trap. They perceive distance as it is, and the best way to respond to such tactics is discipline. Stay calm, be quiet, and continue living your life. The less you feed her, the more she has to rethink her strategy, and at that moment, power returns to you. So remember, distance is not just space, it's a move on the chessboard, and whether she wins or loses power depends only on how you react. The next moment concerns hugs and control. In relationships, attention is currency. Forget about money, gifts, or even words. What women value most is the energy you give them. If a woman doesn't call or write, it usually relates to this truth. Attention equals control. Those who control the flow of attention usually manage the dynamics of relationships. Think about it. When you constantly look at your phone, waiting for her messages or rereading old conversations, you give her mental control. Even when she does nothing, she still holds power because your attention is focused on her. This is a subtle truth that many men overlook. Silence is not just the absence of communication, but a redirection of your energy. Women instinctively understand this. Holding their attention without calls, messages, or replies, they make men react. A man who was once balanced suddenly becomes anxious. A man who had confidence now begins to feel insecure. This uncertainty often leads him to do exactly what she wants, paying her more attention. He might write twice, call to check if everything is okay, and each of his steps is a concession that gives her more control. And this is where the danger begins. The more attention you pay to her silence, the less she will respect you. Why does this happen? because anything that comes too easily loses its value. If she understands that she can disappear and you still chase after her, she won't have to invest anything. You are essentially making her understand that her attention is more valuable than yours. This mentality kills attraction. A man who changes this dynamic realizes that attention must be controlled, not given indiscriminately. Instead of chasing her silence, he reflects it with his discipline. He does not rush to fill the void. He does not plead for her approval, but invests his attention where it truly matters, on his goals, tasks, and those who appreciate it. This shift creates a powerful effect, making her realize that she does not have automatic control over him. Here a deeper truth arises. Attention is an advantage. If you give it carelessly, you lose power. By protecting your interests and acting with intention, respect can be earned. A woman's silence sometimes becomes a way to assess what kind of man you are. Will you yield and allow her to take the control she seeks? Or will you remain steadfast, making it clear that your attention is something to be earned? The essence is simple. If you do not control where your attention goes, she will. A man who lets a woman control his focus ultimately loses respect. Her silence can reveal her level of interest, and when she doesn't call or write, it doesn't always mean a test. Sometimes it simply reflects her true interest. Silence can be one of the clearest indicators of attraction or its absence. The problem is that many men misunderstand the situation or overreact, assuming she has completely lost interest, or ignore the signs and start to pursue her insistently, which only worsens the situation. In reality, a woman's silence often speaks louder than her words. If she is truly interested, her silence is usually short-lived. She may withdraw for a moment, but soon she will come closer, not wanting to miss your attention. If she can remain silent for a long time, not caring whether you respond, it signals that her emotional attachment is not that strong. Men must realize this, not deny it. This is where discipline comes into play. Many spend time trying to evoke interest where there is none, continuing to send messages, call, insist, believing that persistence will change her feelings. But in reality, silence is often her way of showing you your position. If she doesn't reach out to you, doesn't ask questions, and makes no effort, it means her interest lies elsewhere. The question is whether you have the strength to acknowledge this. At the same time, it's worth looking deeper. Sometimes her silence is not due to a lack of interest, but fear, pride, or strategy. Perhaps she likes you, but doesn't want to appear needy. Maybe you matter to her, but she waits to see how important you are to her. Therefore, your reaction is significant. If you panic, it can destroy attraction. But if you remain calm and let her silence flow, it will reveal the true level of her interest. Men who understand this see silence as a filter. Instead of reducing their attention, they use it to understand which women are genuinely interested and with whom it's not worth spending time. The reality is, if she truly values you, she won't let silence divide you for long and will take a step towards you herself. And if it doesn't happen, it will tell you everything you need to know. Remember, her silence is not random behavior, but a sign of her interest. Pay attention to this, not with despair, but with clear understanding. Once you start seeing things as they are, you will stop chasing unsuitable women and begin to notice those who truly want to be part of your life. The next moment, the pursuit of silence destroys respect. Men often make one of the most common mistakes, chasing after a woman's silence. She doesn't call, doesn't write, and the phone becomes a battlefield. He checks it every 5 minutes, sending repeated messages with questions like, "Are you mad at me?" or "Did I do something wrong?" He thinks he is trying to fix the situation, but in reality, he is only undermining respect by sending message after message. Why is respect tied to strength? The woman wants to see that you can handle pressure, that you won't break if something goes wrong. When you chase her silence, you reveal the opposite. You show that your emotions are fragile, that your self-esteem depends on her response, and that you cannot stand without her attention. No matter how interested she was in you before, such behavior makes you less attractive to her. Think about it. When someone ignores you and you still persistently try to make contact, what message are you sending? You say that the value of another person is greater than your own. You need them to acknowledge you to feel whole. This is not love, but weakness. Women sense this instantly. Even if she responds out of pity or guilt, the damage is already done. The dynamics change. Now she sees in you a person who will fight for scraps of attention, And once respect is lost, restoring it becomes extremely difficult. Pursuit also kills mystery. The silent phone raises questions for her. Why hasn't he written? What is he doing? Is he thinking about me? This curiosity maintains the attraction. But when you lose control and overwhelm her with calls and messages, you give her the answer. You were waiting for her. All intrigue dies. There is no tension, uncertainty, or challenge. Her interest fades. A disciplined man behaves differently. He does not chase silence, but reflects it. He respects himself enough to let his actions speak of his intentions. If she values him, she will break the silence herself. If not, he accepts it and moves on. In any case, he maintains his respect, as he does not give it away initially. Here's the thing. Women lose interest in men not because of silence, but because of showing weakness. Pursuing her silence is the quickest way to show your vulnerability. So next time she doesn't call or write, resist the urge to chase after her. Instead, remain calm, focused, and let her feel what it's like not to chase anyone. This is when respect is preserved, and it's in these moments that she often returns. The seventh point is the moment when her return happens with renewed strength. This is the part that most men do not expect. When you stop pursuing her silence and remain steadfast, the time comes when she returns with even greater insistence. The irony of female psychology. The distance she created to test you, to take control of the situation, or to see if you would give up, ultimately draws her back when she realizes you don't play by her rules. When you don't respond to her silence, you create tension. At first, she may seem confident, pretending to be indifferent, but over time she begins to realize the weight of her strategy. Her ego starts to crack. Why isn't he writing to me? Has he lost interest? Can he handle this? This uncertainty weighs down, and the very silence she used against you begins to work against her. It is then that she changes her attitude. Instead of waiting for your messages, she starts writing herself. Instead of ignoring your calls, she starts dialing your number first. She might even go overboard, sending long messages and putting in extra effort to get your attention, or unexpectedly suggesting to meet. This is not a coincidence. It's her way of reconnecting and ensuring she hasn't lost you. Now her return is tied not only to missing you, but also to respect. By not pursuing her, you demonstrated that you value yourself, resist manipulation, and that your attention must be earned. This changes your role in her mind. You become not just another man she plays with, but someone she must respect. And with the growth of respect, attraction usually appears. But here is the essence. When it returns with new strength, you must not lose everything you have achieved by reverting to old habits. Too many men lose everything they've gained by giving too many explanations, compliments, or messages as soon as she reappears. This destroys the mystery and restores the old power dynamic. The key is balance. You acknowledge her efforts but do not succumb to her despair. You maintain your calm, uphold your boundaries, and allow her to continue investing. You will notice that her responses come with more eagerness than before. She laughs louder, writes faster, shows greater interest. Why is this happening? Because of your silence. She remembered that she has no guarantees. Once a woman realizes she might lose you, she begins to value you differently. So remember, silence does not end the story. If you manage it well, it lays the foundation for the next chapter. In this chapter, she returns stronger, pursuing you with greater fervor and respecting you more than before. The question is whether you have the discipline to let the silence last, or if you will ruin everything by starting to chase her too early. When a woman doesn't call or write, there's always a reason behind it. Her silence is a message, a test, or even a reflection of her true feelings. Many men lose respect trying to chase her, but a disciplined man understands that his silence is his strength. By staying calm, confident, and in control, you make her confront her own doubts. It is in these moments that she may return with renewed strength. Remember, your reaction to her silence determines whether you will lose her respect or gain her admiration. Keeping calm, make her realize the seriousness of the situation.